Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome to Affect Studio. I want to talk about my 1992 Fender Japan Custom Edition Precision bass. You can recognise these by the Custom Edition decal on the back of the headstock, although there aren't very many to see. Once again, there is very little information about these, but versions with the Custom Edition decal were only produced for 2 or 3 years. Prior to that, they had a similar logo with X-Trad, standing for Extra Traditional. Both series were special order and meant to be the pinnacle of Japanese Fenders, made by their best craftsmen using their best timber. Their version of the US Custom Shop only for sale in Japan. These were made in the Fuji Gen factory, where they simultaneously built instruments for Ibanez, Greco, Epiphone, Orville and others. So yes, Fender, Gibson and Ibanez had instruments coming out of the same factory at the same time. I bought this on eBay about 18 years ago. My eldest was a toddler at the time, and when I unpacked it said, "Oh, sparkles." So this has always been known as the Sparkle P, Sparkle Precision, or just the Sparkle Bass. She also added a butterfly sticker, which may or may not contribute to the sound. I chose this one after seeing the Custom Edition decal, figuring it would be even better than the usual high standard of Japanese Fenders, but didn't really think too much about it. It was clearly a great bass and has stayed while many others have come and gone. This is the bass used most often in the studio, after people's own basses of course. I know people with the view that only Neanderthals play precisions, unless they have flat wounds. Never understood that one. I've tried flats on this, which sounds great, but I think it sounds best with a fresh set of rotor sound swing bass myself. I went to a get-together of bass players from the Ozbass forum 11 years ago, and one of the guys had organised a shootout of P basses. From memory, we compared about 15 of them, including a 70s Ibanez, ESP, Mexican, Japanese and US Fenders, Lachlan, Sadowski and Warmoth. The crowd favourites tonally were this and a Nash. The guy doing the testing liked this one most to play. It was only after that I thought to look up what the Custom Edition decal actually referred to, and discovered it was a Japanese custom shop. First time I'd heard of it, which is not surprising as they were only sold in Japan. I've always been a fan of the high-end Japanese instruments. They tend to be quite consistent in quality and sound, so a fairly safe buy. And you know, along with the set of round wounds, I always think a precision sounds great with a pick. I've only seen these custom editions online and very few basses. All the custom editions seem to be vintage spec, which fits with the extra traditional idea. Other than the sparkle finish and an overwound Seymour Duncan pickup, this was also vintage spec. It had a vintage style spiral saddle bridge and has the larger vintage style machine heads. It currently has a regular Duncan vintage pickup and a badass bridge that I put on. While I've never played a bad one, I have found the key to the really good Japanese Fenders is finding the ones with the most authentic vintage specs. In the case of the basses, this is the spiral bridge, the larger tuning plates and the US pickups. They seem to use better woods on these. You do pay more for them, but for me they're worth it. So once again, we have a slightly mysterious Japanese manufactured instrument. It must be time for someone to write a detailed book on the history of the Japanese guitar factories. I'm sure there are some fascinating and unexpected stories out there. So as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please check out my other videos, and hopefully I'll see you soon.